Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. Purdue snapped its losing streak, getting a nice 76-66 win over UCLA on Friday night in Mackey Arena. Braden Smith made a little history. Trey Kaufman-Renn turned in another great performance. Lots of things to talk about from Friday night's victory. We'll do that on the show today. We'll preview the final week of the regular season. Can you believe it? The month of March is here. We'll talk about the end of Big Ten season. We will talk about the postseason ahead. Some seeding talk for both tournaments. Lots to talk about here today. If you don't, be sure to follow the show on Twitter, @BoilersBeyond. Lots to talk about there as well. And we're doing so every single day over on the Twitter sphere. Come join the conversation, and you can always send in questions. You can do that there on Twitter, @BoilersBeyond. You can email the show, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode here. We'll be all the way through the end of the season and then some. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Purdue ended its 4-game losing streak on Friday against UCLA. A good game by Purdue against a good, legitimate opponent. UCLA is not going to win the Big Ten this year. UCLA is sitting at 11-7 in the league. It's got a couple games it could win here to close things out. But it's a good team. You know, you look at some of the wins that UCLA has. It beat Arizona. It won at Oregon. It beat Gonzaga. Beat Michigan State. Swept Oregon, actually. It's got some good wins on its resume. It's a solid team. It plays really good defense. It's one of the best in the country there. It is effective on offense. It's not tremendous, but it's effective enough on offense that it's a solid opponent to play. And, you know, this isn't a game that the national pundits are going to look at and say, oh, you know, that's a great win for Purdue. That's not one that even, you know, moves the needle for Purdue's NCAA tournament resume a ton, although it is a quadrant 1 win, I believe. UCLA can really give you some problems, and you saw that when UCLA was trying to give Purdue the game early on a little bit when it turned the ball over a bunch, but Purdue wasn't able to get off to a great start on offense, and that kept UCLA around a little bit. UCLA was pretty good on defense for a large part of the game. At the end, it wasn't good enough, but for a large part of the game, it was good defensively. It hit some tough shots. It hit a lot of really tough shots. Tyler Bilodeau hit some tough ones. The guard, Sebastian Mack, he hit a couple tough ones. But at the end of the day, Purdue made the plays and UCLA didn't. The better offensive team won out, and the old saying that good offense beats good defense kind of came true at the end of the day. Purdue, though, was much better defensively than it had been. That was the root concern from at least 3 of those 4 losses. I don't know that Purdue's defense lost at the game at Michigan, but it didn't help. Those final 3 games were Purdue's defense just being a problem. It's not that Purdue's defense was perfect. UCLA still had some success on offense in some areas, but Purdue's defense was significantly better. You saw the attention to detail. You saw the effort immediately when Purdue was forcing turnovers like it hasn't in a month or so. Right out of the gate, it was almost reminiscent of what Purdue did to Michigan in that game at Mackey Arena on the defensive end, where Purdue came out in that game shot out of a cannon. Purdue didn't have that same barrage on offense. Purdue couldn't convert those turnovers into points the way it did against Michigan, but it was kind of the same, you know, the same energy, the same vibe a little bit. Purdue finishes the game with 14 forced turnovers, and a lot of those were legitimately forced turnovers. They weren't, you know, guy dribbles off his foot out of bounds. They weren't moving screen. These were things that Purdue's defense was actually doing. really active hands. You saw some forced steals. You saw Purdue playing really hard on that end. Purdue was much more connected. There weren't the times, at least as many of them, where UCLA had a three-point shooter wide open, or there wasn't a lob for a dunk just wide open with no one in the same zip code as him. Purdue was significantly better there defensively. It was significantly more connected. Now, UCLA also, to play devil's advocate here, didn't have a ton of guys that were just going to smoke you off the dribble. They weren't doing what John Tonji did. They weren't doing what, I don't know, like what Chase Richardson can do. That wasn't it against Michigan State. It was the lobs. But UCLA is not phenomenal offensively, but Purdue was much, much better there. Purdue has to live with some of its rebounding deficiencies. Those were on full display in the first half. UCLA finished the game with 12 offensive rebounds. 10 of those came in the first half. All 9 of UCLA's second chance points came in the first half. Purdue was notably better in the second half on the glass. Some of it comes with Purdue just being smaller. When in this game, and it turned out to be Purdue's best lineup because Cam Heide was awesome rebounding. More to come there. But just on paper, when Trey Kaufman-Renn's your 5 and Cam Heide's your 4, you're pretty small, especially when Trey Kaufman-Renn's not a great rebounder. Even when you're playing, bigger with Caleb First at the 5, Trey Kaufman-Renn at the 4, or however you want to deem that, you're smaller on the perimeter a little bit at times. CJ Cox is smaller. Fletcher Lawyer's not a great rebounder. Braden Smith is small. He rebounds as well as you can for his size. Purdue has its disadvantages there. And a lot of times when it has to be as preventative on defense as it is, it can probably get out of position for rebounding at times. Purdue finished the game really well there, and that's just something that Purdue has to pay extra attention to detail to. Because as you get into this fateful month where everything is placed under more and more of a microscope, that's something that can add up on you quick. That's something that when you get into single elimination play, you can't have much of that. You're going to give up a rebound here and there, but you can't let those second chance points stack. Your defense isn't good enough to give teams 2 or 3 opportunities. I just thought energy. You saw it from Purdue all around, both ends of the floor. Trey Kaufman-Renn sure as hell brought it. He was awesome. He came off his worst game of the year at Indiana. He scored 9 points. He fouled out of the game. Indiana really, really did well on him. He has 29 points on 11 of 15, 7 of 10 from the free throw line, and most importantly, and probably not coincidentally, fouls were never a concern. I think he picked up his first late in the first half, and then he finished the game. Let's see. Yeah, he picked up 1 in the first half. He finishes the game with just 3 fouls. That was never a problem. He played 38 minutes. I don't know that you want to play him 38 minutes every game, but if you're going to beat good teams, you have to. Purdue doesn't have the depth. He's going to have to play that type of volume for Purdue in the NCAA tournament. That's it. At times it felt like he put Purdue on his back. In that second half, UCLA wasn't going away. UCLA just kept punching back, and Trey Kaufman-Renn just kept his head down and kept scoring. In the first half, he was great too. The second half, it just felt like he was getting to the line a lot more. He was really putting strain on UCLA's defense, but his decision-making was good too. He wasn't really forcing things. When that double was coming, he was quick to pass it out. He wasn't trying to do too much like he might have been at Indiana. That was a really, really good showing from him. one that really shows why he's an All-American, and at least why he should be an All-American. I don't know if he's a first-team guy. Probably not, but he's in that mix as a second or third team All-American. He's been fantastic this year. I think in conference play, he leads the Big Ten in scoring. I'm not positive, but that sounds right. He's been tremendous. And in these games, if you take Indiana out of the equation, he'd had 6 straight 20-plus point games. Even when Purdue, lost to Wisconsin, he was excellent. Purdue lost at Michigan, and when he wasn't in foul trouble, he was really good. Michigan State game, he was good. He's been fantastic for Purdue this year. He is so crafty at getting to his angles. He's becoming a really fascinating guy to watch because he's a little bit different than what Purdue's had recently. Caleb Swanigan was just so imposing. He was so big, not necessarily tall the way Zach Edey was and was just a skyscraper and could dominate with his height along with his size. I mean, Caleb Swanigan was just a truck. And Travion Williams had some really good moments for Purdue, and he had some craft to his game, but it wasn't about the angles the way it is with Trey Kaufman-Renn. He's really patient. He's really good at finding his right hand, obviously. He can do it in so many different ways. He can do it in the short roll. He can do it on the block. He can do it dribbling himself into position. He's really unique. He's been really, really fun to watch this year. He's now 25 points away from 1,000 for his career. So maybe he'll break it against Rutgers on Tuesday. More likely he'll break it against Illinois on Friday. Someone who's going to really climb up. I mean, you look at how little he played as a redshirt freshman. You look at how little opportunity he had last year at times, and he's at 1,000 points now. He's going to be in wonderful shape when his Purdue career ends after next year. And Braden Smith was great too. And this was really your example of your best players leading you to victory, albeit you got some contributions from your role guys as well. Only 6 guys scored for Purdue. Caleb First, Jakari Harris, Raleigh Burgess. Those guys didn't score. Fletcher Lawyer has 11 on 3 of 5 from 3, 3 of 6 overall. Braden Smith, 23. Trey Kaufman-Renn, 29. Math on the fly here. Purdue's big three scores 63 of your 76 points. And you get a couple of big-time shots in there. CJ Cox had a nice stretch where he scored a couple baskets in a row. Miles Colvin hit a big 3. Cam Heide hit maybe the biggest 3 of the game. But Purdue's big 3 were terrific. Just 6 turnovers for them, just 9 for Purdue as a whole. Really good. A really, really good showing. It was the night where Braden Smith set the Purdue all-time assist record. He passes Bruce Parkinson, a record that stood for like 50 years. Don't take for granted what you're seeing here. It's not like super widely publicized, but it's not exactly a secret that if Braden Smith keeps doing this at this rate, he's really going to have some flirtation with Bobby Hurley's all-time NCAA assist record, which is utterly insane to say. He's doing things that college point guards just don't do. And this is almost different than what Purdue's had in its really dominant centers. Zach Edey was the first back-to-back National Player of the Year since Ralph Sampson. A lot of that has to do with his size and the garbage direction of the NBA. But Braden Smith is doing things that you just don't see from anyone else. You see good big men. You see really good point guards, but you don't see good point guards that pass the way that Braden Smith does. And you certainly don't see guys who can pass like that, who also can go 6 for 10 from 3, pour in 23, Braden Smith is averaging, where'd it go here? He's averaging, 16 points a game? I mean, he's been just remarkable. A really good year, shooting almost 40% from three. He's been awesome. He's been absolutely awesome. This really, just a really good night for Purdue's stars. This game did, though. It reminded you how thin Purdue's margin for error can be at times. There was a stretch in that second half when Purdue was trying to pull away. I think it got a bucket to take the lead. It gets a stop, and then Jakari Harris tries to throw an alley-oop from 35 feet that sails out of bounds. Ultimately, it didn't matter because Purdue won this game, but had Purdue lost, had that kind of sent the game sideways, that's something you come back to. I think it was Purdue's first possession that, was it Trey Kaufman-Wren trying to find Caleb First for an alley-oop, and the pass wasn't there? Those are two possessions that could have been buckets that would loom really large. The rebounding, the turnover margin, there's so much that Purdue needs to do well. Purdue did it on Friday. Purdue had a really, really nice win. Purdue had a win that kind of stabilized. It was water finding its level. Purdue was a better team than it showed during that 4-game losing streak. Purdue had the players-only meetings. Purdue had individual meetings with coaches. I heard all of that. No clue on details, but Purdue came out a really professional performance. It didn't panic. That was one that could have really gotten sideways. Purdue had a 10-point lead late in that first half. It goes to the locker room up 2, and there was not a single soul in Mackey Arena or wearing black and gold watching on TV that felt great about where Purdue was, especially with some early UCLA turnovers. You worried a little bit about where Purdue was. In that first half, you had 5 points from C.J. Cox. You had 5 points from Miles Colvin. You're thinking to yourself, man, can we get that again? Man, that's crazy. I'm looking at that now, and Cam Heidi's 3 was the only basket in the second half that came outside of Purdue's big 3. That's wild. That's really wild. It shows you how dependent Purdue is on those guys, on the offensive end at least. This episode is brought to you by me. Yes, me. When I'm not watching sports, or more accurately, talking about them, I'm talking insurance with the people of Indiana. As an agent with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, I want to help you protect what you've worked hard to achieve. From home and auto to life and business insurance, I'm here to help you. Give me a call at 317-846-5861 or email me, jordan.jones@infarmbureau.com, and let's protect you from life's everyday risks. Purdue finishes the regular season this week. The month of March has arrived. It's come quick. It always does. It's really snuck up this year, it seems like. This is the last week of the regular season. It's Sunday night here, 8:15 p.m. This time next week, we will know the schedule in Indianapolis for the Big Ten tournament. We will know when Purdue plays, who Purdue plays, all of that. It's pretty much done here. So Purdue gets Rutgers at home on Tuesday. That is a 7 o'clock tip on Peacock, I think. Last time of the year for Peacock, maybe? Is that Illinois game on Peacock? No, that's got to be on Fox. Peacock for Rutgers. So Caleb First's last game at Mackey Arena. This won't be quite the senior night that it was last year, although Caleb First will leave Mackey Arena as the winningest player in Purdue history. That's quite something. And Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman-Wren are probably going to break that next year. They'd have to win a lot of games, though. That team Caleb First freshman year won a lot of games. So, nonetheless, Purdue closes out its home slate Rutgers is still not good. It is maybe playing a little bit better of late. It beat Washington. It beat USC. It gave Michigan a heck of a scare in Ann Arbor. Michigan really shouldn't have won that game. It had no business winning that game. So maybe you're seeing things come together a little bit. When Purdue played Rutgers the last time, Dylan Harper was a complete non-factor. He was coming off of an illness, but Purdue did an awesome job on Ace Bailey. Those are the two all-everything freshmen. Those are the two who are going to, be early picks in the NBA draft. That's what the game comes down to, is how well Purdue can defend those guys. Rutgers' complementary pieces are not great. Rutgers doesn't shoot super well. It's a 33% three-point shooting team. It's just not, it's not great. And you look at what Rutgers is, it's 7-11 in league play. It goes to Purdue and it hosts Minnesota. There's a real chance Rutgers goes to the Big Ten tournament below 500 overall if it splits those two games. If you're Purdue, by no means is this a given, because you do know that Rutgers is capable of doing some good things on you. Those guys can score. And Rutgers has put up some big point totals. It put up 89 at Washington. It put up 95 at home to USC. It put up 82 at Michigan. If you're Purdue, the defensive attention is going to be really important here. You held Rutgers to 50 flat the first time you played. That is Rutgers' season low. Of course, it comes with a bit of an asterisk that Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper wasn't completely healthy. But if you can hold them under 70, I think you feel pretty good given how limited that defense is. Keep in mind, Purdue won that game by 18 the first time, and Purdue shot 4 for 24 from 3. Not good. Not good at all. Purdue should feel all right about where it's at there. And then you close at Illinois, who is really becoming quite the Jekyll and Hyde team here. I like a lot of teams in the league, I have no idea what to make of Illinois. I think Illinois has as much talent, as much basketball ability as any team in the league. It has some really good athletes. It has some guys who can really play. It does not put it together all that well. It's very volatile, which isn't unlike what Illinois has been in recent memory. But you've got to worry. I mean, they just went to Michigan today and won by 20. It won by 20 against Iowa earlier. So, it's coming off 2 20-point wins, and it doesn't play again until Friday. So that's a plus if you're Illinois. Purdue's had some good success in this series recently. Purdue, 3 years in a row, Purdue's won that. So Purdue's won 5 in a row against Illinois, right? Going back to... Yeah, that sounds right. Purdue's won 5 in a row against Illinois. And, of course, Big Ten scheduling here. You play someone for the first time in the last game of the regular season. I have no clue what to make of that game. Purdue will have to be very, very good defensively. It has to keep Illinois out of the lane. Illinois is not a very good three-point shooting team. It shoots below 31% from 3. It shoots 57% inside the arc. Purdue has to make Illinois beat it. Long 2s and 3s. If Illinois is getting to the rim on Purdue, it's going to be a long night. Illinois does not force turnovers well, which is really something. Brad Underwood's kind of made a complete 180 on that, because when he got there, they really tried to force turnovers. Now they do not. But they defend pretty well. They're a solid defense. They just don't force a ton of turnovers. Offensive rebounding is something big in that game. Illinois is long on the perimeter. Tomislav Ivicic is a real tall guy inside, but they have some length on the perimeter. Purdue's going to have to find a way there. That's one that Purdue kind of is going to have to scratch and claw to win, I think. But it all depends what Illinois you get to. Because as we've seen with Illinois, when they're good, they're really good. When they're bad, it's bottom falling out bad. And you don't really know what one you're going to get. But of course, if you're a Purdue fan, you probably lean towards getting a pretty good Illinois. Because that's a game that Illinois is going to be fired up for. Those fans hated Zach Edey. Those fans do not like Purdue. And Purdue has won there in pretty dramatic fashion the last 2 times it's played there, right? I don't think it played at Illinois a couple years ago, but you remember the Martin Luther King Day game where Zach Edey got the best of Kofi Coburn, Sasha Stefanovic hit 1,000,000 threes, Purdue won that game in double overtime, and then last year Braden Smith put the State Farm Center to sleep. So that's going to be a real raucous environment there. Purdue's walking into one there. That kind of sets up the Big Ten tournament. As we go into this final week, there are still a pretty wide range of outcomes for Purdue in the Big Ten tournament. A lot of this is predicated on Purdue winning on Tuesday. If Purdue loses on Tuesday, it's in some trouble, to put it mildly. If Purdue can win on Tuesday and Maryland loses at Michigan on Wednesday, big if, because Michigan's looked really bad the last couple weeks. I mean, Michigan, I don't want to say Michigan's falling apart, but since it beat Purdue and then went and won at Ohio State, you've got a 13-point loss at home to Michigan State, a 3-point win at Nebraska where they scored 49 points and won, a buzzer-beating win over Rutgers where it trailed most of the game, and then a 20-point loss at home to Illinois. Michigan is not trending well right now. Can it buck that and win at home against Maryland on Wednesday? Also, Michigan did its senior night tonight, yet it has another home game. I got no clue there. But if Purdue beats Rutgers and Maryland loses at Michigan, then Purdue has the double bye locked up before it gets on the bus to go play Illinois, I believe. Because right now, Purdue, Wisconsin, Maryland are all 12-6. UCLA is at 11-7. So yes, that would have Purdue with the double bye locked up because it has the tiebreaker over Maryland or UCLA. It is possible that Purdue could get as high as third. That would probably require Purdue winning out and Wisconsin either losing at Minnesota or at home to Penn State. Plausible, but unlikely. Purdue could fall. Boy, I mean, fall down to like the 8-9 game, maybe. No, maybe it'd fall to 7. I mean, it's not likely. If Purdue wins on Tuesday, it puts itself at worst the 5, I believe. So we'll see what Purdue does there. And as far as the NCAA tournament goes, we're getting into bracketology updates every single day, every single hour. Bracket Matrix has Purdue as the last 4 seed right now. I think if you're Purdue, that last getting into the 3 line is possible. You just need to win games. You need to win these next 2. If Purdue loses one of these, if it loses to Rutgers, it's in real trouble. If it loses at Illinois, I think a 4 is probably your best outcome, depending on what you do in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, I always, it feels like you never want to go into your conference tournament needing to win for seeding. I feel like that's never been something that really helps. Purdue's just got to kind of do what it does. If it can win these 2 games and take care of its business there, and then if it can go to the Big Ten tournament and get a win or 2, that 3 line is probably in play. If not, you're probably looking at a 4, maybe you fall to a 5. It wouldn't be ideal, but when you lose 4 games in a row, you kind of lose the ability to complain too much about seeding. I wanted to close out here today with some questions. We have some good ones here. I'll start with, do you think Braden or Tanji leads for player of the year as we sit here today? Should Trey Kaufman-Renn be in the conversation as well? As far as the first question, it's a good one. I guess I'll go slightly with Braden Smith. John Tanji's been awesome. You want to talk about someone who came out of nowhere? I mean, this is a guy who played a really, really limited role, even at Colorado State. Like, it's not like this guy was doing a ton there. And now he's become a star. I mean, this is pretty wild. He's been awesome. Braden Smith is so unique when you factor in that he scores 16 points a game, but also that he's one of the best passers we've ever seen in college basketball. That's unique. Now, the one thing I'll point to is, yes, Trey Kaufman-Renn should be in the conversation. I believe he leads the Big Ten in scoring, points per game in conference play. He is remarkably efficient. He's a good enough rebounder. He belongs in that conversation too. So it is possible that, a few votes get split between he and Braden Smith and that Tanji ends up winning it. I don't think it's blasphemous if you lean towards John Tanji there. I myself would go with Braden Smith. Does doing well in the Big Ten tournament matter this season more to build back momentum? Yeah, it does. I think in general, the only time that I'm a pretty big believer in like the Big Ten tournament being meaningless is if you win the regular season title and you're feeling pretty good about yourself going into the NCAA tournament. Like a couple years ago when Purdue ended up losing to FDU, I thought it was a pretty good thing that Purdue won the Big Ten tournament because there was so much skepticism around that team that I thought any positive momentum could have helped. And ultimately it didn't, but I thought that was going to be a positive. Last year, it was very obvious that Purdue was on a mission last year. The Big Ten tournament wasn't going to help anything. Purdue was in a rare spot where literally the only thing that mattered at the end of the day was going to be what it did in the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's something that I don't like about college basketball and the culture around it, but that was reality last year, and Purdue ended up getting it done. But the second Braden Smith got like his ankle tweaked against Michigan State, the Big Ten tournament stopped mattering altogether. This year, absolutely it matters a little bit. You want to put something in your rafters. And we're going to talk about this a ton next week, so I don't need to spoil next week's episode, but if you get the chance to put something in your rafters, you want to do that. Purdue did not win the regular season title. I don't think Purdue's going to go to a Final Four. Maybe it surprises me there. So that leaves the Big Ten tournament. You'd like to do that. You'd like to build up some momentum going into the NCAA tournament. Yeah. Who's the best team in the Big Ten? Not necessarily who's going to win the league, but the best team who can do something in March. Michigan is out. Michigan has been a cat with 9 lives. You look at some of the wins it's had. I mean, they're all close. They're not always against good teams. They just find ways to win. And that's a good trait to have until that trait reverses. Michigan State keeps blowing my mind. It doesn't shoot well. It doesn't try to shoot threes much, but it keeps winning games. I don't know. Jace Richardson is really good, but I don't know that he is quite at the point where he's a guy you just give it to him and tell you to go win games. I don't know they don't have a guy like that, but it's working for them right now. It's a team, though, I wouldn't want to be coming from behind because it doesn't shoot well from 3. Wisconsin can put up points in bunches. When it shoots well from 3, it's really, really dangerous. It's a good offense. It's a humming offense. Defense is solid. I kind of lean Wisconsin. I think with Purdue, anytime Purdue takes the floor, it's probably going to have the two best players on the floor, and that gets you off to a heck of a start. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but it puts you in a really good place. I think Purdue, I think Michigan State, I think Wisconsin, and then to be honest with you, I would have Illinois and Maryland more likely to make a run than Michigan. I would probably, if I had to bet on a team to make a run, I might even take Illinois over Maryland. Maryland doesn't have a bench, and that's, all it takes is one game where you get a couple of foul trouble situations and things change. But it's going to be interesting. I don't know what to make of the Big Ten. This could be a year where the Big Ten has no one get to the second weekend. I don't think that's likely, but it wouldn't completely shock me. You could have 3 Big Ten teams in the Elite Eight. I just don't know. I don't know. I would be absolutely stunned, though, if any of these teams won a national title. I would be flabbergasted. I don't see that coming at all. What are your thoughts on the bottom 3 teams not making the Big Ten tournament? This is one that I'm passionate about. So, in general, I think conference tournaments are a really dumb idea. I think it is noble that you give everyone, until now, a chance to make the NCAA tournament. That is a very noble pursuit. But now that you're not doing that anymore, why are you having a conference tournament? Other than the obvious answer of money. Because you're not giving everyone a chance to make the NCAA tournament. You're making some of these schools fly all the way to Indianapolis. I mean, if you're UCLA, you're Oregon, I guess those are the only 2 that are going to make the NCAA tournament. Washington's not going to make the Big Ten tournament. If you're flying to Indianapolis, and then what do? If you lose on, say, Saturday, you fly back out west to watch the selection show, and then say you get sent to Cleveland for the first round and you fly back out to the Midwest. That's brutal. This is not a great model. And aren't they having the Big Ten tournament out west at some point? There's going to be all sorts of hell raised behind the scenes there. Because that's not going to go over well. Conference tournaments are the golden opportunity to play either side of the card. If you lose early, oh man, well, my team gets more rest for the NCAA tournament. Or if you go on a run, hey, they built momentum for the NCAA tournament. Ultimately, does it matter? I don't think so. But you can kind of spin it positively anyways. But no, I mean, the Big Ten tournament's fun. It's a fun event. It's fun to watch. It's fun to go to. It's really fun to go to. But I mean, as we just kind of sit here, it loses part of it when not everyone goes. Like that's a big subtraction from this event. I don't know how you would do it with 18 teams. It'd be almost logistically impossible. So I do get that, but it just kind of is another factor that shows you how crazy this all is, how none of this is for the best for the Big Ten. For football, it works fine. Football's 1 game a week, whatever. For every other sport, it makes it really, really difficult. And for basketball, it really hurts what has long been a really proud conference, a really competitive conference. Not that it takes away from the competition, but it just changes the dynamics a lot that a lot of people really got used to and loved. And that's, no one's going to miss seeing Washington in the Big Ten tournament. Who else is going to miss it? Penn State's probably going to miss it. And then either Iowa or USC. No one's going to miss either any of those teams in the Big Ten tournament. Maybe Iowa. Or if you're someone who really cares about Purdue's net ranking, then you want Penn State to make it. What a loss that was. Goodness gracious. But No, I mean, it's just a bummer, but at the same time, I get it. And it's not a big deal, but it's just kind of a dumb deal. And then finally, can you update on any possible 2025 signings? Yeah, I'm assuming this is talking about basketball, not football. I think everyone in football is signed and either on campus now or will be over the summer. Antoine West is Purdue's only 2025 signee, combo guard out of Ohio. I think he's from the Toledo area. Seems like he's having a good year. I think he got hurt early on, but he's been playing pretty well lately. I know they're in the state tournament now. I thought I saw he was scoring like 25 points a game or something. I don't know a ton about him. To be completely honest, I pay attention to the names. I pay attention to recruitments and where Purdue stands. The guys I can really tell you something about are from Indiana. Those are the guys I'm able to watch. Those are the guys I follow. I know people who follow high school basketball in different parts of the states really closely that I can talk to. I don't know anyone in Toledo, so that makes for a problem. It does, and this is something I'm going to talk about as we get into the offseason, though. It does stand out to me that every guard Purdue has taken a commitment from since the FDU loss is a ball handler. I understand that Antoine West can handle the ball, is what I understand. Jakari Harris can. CJ Cox can. Lance Jones could. I mean, probably still can. I think he's still playing somewhere. And Luke Ertl, the 2026 signee, or commit, not signee yet, from Mount Vernon. He's a ball handler. He runs the point for them. That has really stood out to me when you look at roster construction. That's something I plan to talk about quite a bit, is that Antoine West kind of fits in there. But yeah, no, if you're Purdue, I think you've got something there. And then, you look ahead, and I don't speculate on the show, but Purdue's got the opportunity to use the portal a little bit, and we'll see what goes on there. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Thank you for spending your time with me. Thanks for listening. We will be back next Sunday night. We will recap the end of the regular season. We will look ahead to the Big Ten tournament as everyone gets ready to head to the town I'm recording this in, here in Indianapolis. We'll talk about all that. Send over your questions on Twitter at BoilersBeyond. Email them, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We will talk to you next time, guys. Until then, take care.